jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back
Once again, thanks for tuning in. You're listening to World Combat Sports. What's good? Salute to everyone in the building. You know, be sure to hit the like button if you really support the channel, as always. Share the content. Donate to the channel if you see fit. You know what I'm saying? It's up to you. This is absolutely an MMA broadcast. Live. I'm speaking about the one and only Thug Rose Namajunas. And, of course, I'm going to basically give you an overlay of the UFC 268 card, because that's what I do. So to kick this off, man, I want to touch bases on how important it is to recognize one of the best female mixed martial artists in the world, and that's Rose Namajunas. She is absolutely one of the best female mixed martial artists in the world. Her record is 10 victories, 4 losses. On this UFC 268 card, she's going to be the one who is contending against Weili Zhang in defense of her strawweight title. It's a big freaking deal. Why? Because it's such a historic run that she had to even get to the title shot. You know, just to go through a little bit about what she experienced. Like, she has some relatives that suffer from schizophrenia, and her herself battle, you know, mental problems, you know, that she basically discussed and made public. And she has fought her way through those tribulations and those conditions that she had to become 2-time world strawweight champion. 2-time, y'all. She's the first female ever to become 2-time any champion. She's the first female to lose her title and regain her title in the UFC. She's absolutely one of my favorite fighters, man. I liked her when she was coming out of the Ultimate Fighter and she went in there and fought Carla Esparza, a fighter with a wrestling background. Look, Rose did not care. She went in there and she was wild with it, doing, you know, flying techniques, you know, just not giving a damn about how she was setting herself up, you know, to be countered or taken down. She didn't care about none of that. She ended up losing her Ultimate Fighter debut, and then she will fight on. You know what I'm saying? So what's special about this title that she has coming up, she's the co-main event. Let's take it back to when she was basically coming off that loss with Carla Esparza, right? In the Ultimate Fighter. And then she fought up-and-coming Angela Hill, who had a lot of hype behind her name. She fought Paige Van Zandt. You know what I'm saying? Subbed out in round 5. Paige Van Zandt was a pretty face, big name that they was putting a lot of hype behind in mixed martial arts. And, you know, when it came down to it, Paige Van Zandt was 6-1 going in that fight. And then she fought the Tiny Tornado, Tisha Torres, won a unanimous decision. And the fight that was going to take her to the title, her first title shot, she stepped in there with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. And I thought for sure she was going to have a damn solid showing in there with Carolina. But it didn't work out her way, man. She lost a split decision. I still remember that day. I was like, man, I thought for sure we was going to see Joanna and Rose Namajunas fight for the title. This is what I like what the UFC did. She had a loss, and she said, okay, I'm going to put her in there with another top-ranked female, and then depending on how she do with that, we're going to put in there for another title shot. So if she would have beat Karolina Kowalkiewicz, she would have got the title shot. But instead, Carolina went on to face the current champion at the time, Joanna Jędrzejczyk. So Thug Rose faces Michelle Waterson next after losing to Carolina. She subs her out in round 2. If you know anything about Thug Rose's game, is that when her growth, it's almost like what she's been working on and her maturity in the sport and everything that she's been remediating and being taught and she's learning, it was playing out as she was competing. That's the beautiful part about every petal, every rose petal to Namajunas' game. It played out every fight on what she was improving in. So she subs out Michelle Waterson, aka the Karate Hottie. And then she goes on to face the menace herself, the beast, the motherfucking, the damn near mercenary. She went in there and fought the meanest chick in the game at that time. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she was the one that was basically the Grim Reaper. She used to get so personal with her opponents. She used to make it so fucking personal. And I kind of liked it, man. I'm not saying I got turned on by it, but I kind of liked the way she would lower herself and look in their eyes. I say, damn, this chick is a beast. And this is a chick who was en route to basically break Ronda Rousey's defense record. So leading up to Thug Rose stepping in there with Joanna, it got personal. Like Joanna was talking about she's not mentally strong enough to be champion. She's weak. She got too much personal issues going on. She's fragile. She's mentally fragile. Man, she was talking so much shit about Thug Rose. I was like, damn. You know, she's make this shit personal, bro. Like, this is the way Joanna operated as champion. She was prime to be the next Ronda Rousey, if not better. The only thing she didn't have comparable to Ronda Rousey was a BJJ game, a ground game to match. But when you look at it and inspect Ronda Rousey's overall game, she was very limited. Like her boxing skills sucked. They was rudimentary boxing skills. But the only thing that she knew how to do well was a single arm bar. She knew how to get the takedown, not even shooting in or anything. Ronda Rousey get close enough to clinch, and she'll try to basically throw you, a hip throw, judo, using her judo technique, and she will automatically work for position. Okay, position before submission, and her arm bar was nasty. But when it came to Joanna, her punches and kicks was world class. Like, she was a previous kickboxer before entering the UFC. So her punches and kicks was on point. So heading into this fight, I say Rose is going to have to deal with the kicks of Joanna and the punches. I'm curious to see how she works that. But one thing Rose doesn't have, one thing Joanna don't have that Rose does is jiu-jitsu, ground game. I'm curious to see what's going to negate the other. So once the bell sounded, it wasn't too much of any, clinching, none of that. Like, Rose knew she had better BJJ than Joanna, but she chose to stand on her feet. In the process of standing, which standing means trading punches and kicks, right? She caught Joanna with a left cross. Drops her in the first round. Closes in. landed ground and pound punches from the top position. Joanna didn't respond. She wasn't safely or defending herself to the point where the referee felt that she's able to recover, and the fight was stopped. She stopped her in round 1, which was crazy, man. It was almost like people couldn't believe it. But Rose, she didn't show any reaction initially until, she walked over near her corner or whatever, and she kind of, started bawling out, crying, and she said, yeah, I did it. You know what I'm saying? I did it. I'm champion. I'm world champion. Through everything I've been through, I'm the best in the world. And I thought that was one of the most special moments in UFC history, real talk, because when Joanna was in Thug Rose's face, talking shit to her at the face-off and the weigh-ins, well, it was a presser. It was the final presser. Rose was pretty much, it was a ceremonial weigh-in. Rose is pretty much moving her lips as if she was saying something. We didn't know what it said. The mic didn't catch it or whatever. Didn't catch the audio. Then Joe Rogan asked her what she was saying. She said she was just reciting a prayer. So when it came time for the bout, it went down in such an epic way that it set Thug Rose on a whole nother level in the UFC. Like, she wasn't the first to become champion. You know what I'm saying? Joanna had all that shine. So, once she beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk, Dana White, this is what I like about him. Dana White will put you right back in there. I like that, man. This is why Weili Zhang is getting another shot after being knocked the fuck out by Rose Namajunas. I'm going to get to that, though. So she gets back in there. She has an immediate rematch. Okay? She fought Joanna Jędrzejczyk in November 2017, and then returned in November 2017, and returned in April of 2018. The fight went the distance, and I remember, I say, okay, is it close? What the judge is gonna say? She do enough? Joanna used to be the champ. Did Rose Namajunas do enough? And then in the 5th round, she sealed it. She signed off with a takedown. It wasn't a takedown the entire fight. They were just standing up, trading. Punch combinations, kicks, etc. It was a stand-up game. Then when it got down to the 5th round, to separate herself and leave no doubt, she got a takedown, and she defended her title. Now she was absolutely certified because she became the strawweight world champion, and also she had defended her title against the former world champion. So she was certified, official. So she took some time off, right? And came back in 2019 and faced Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade, if anybody know her, they used to call her the female Mike Tyson. She's from Brazil. She's never been champion before. She's had her moments. I mean, I'm amazed at somebody her size can make the weight at 115. Like, she is big. Like, she's a shredded, muscular, pocket monster like fighter. So Thug Rose Namajunas came in there to face Jessica Andrade, and everybody was like, oh man, Rose is so small, but they're fighting at 115, and people were saying this shit. She got in there and she was having success with her hands with Jessica until they end up clinching in the 2nd round. And somehow, Rose thought, she should hang on to the lock that she had, just to stabilize herself with Jessica Andrade, because she's probably working for a submission, I would say. And what Jessica did was basically a crotch lift where she picked Thug Rose Namajunas up. Rose didn't let go, and Andrade dumped her on her head. When she hit the canvas, Rose was knocked out temporarily. She was unconscious. Boom. Andrade becomes the champion. The same way those of you that watch UFC for quite some time, We can say the same thing about Matt Hughes and Carlos Newton if you watched the sport back then. Carlos Newton had Matt Hughes in a triangle. Matt Hughes picked him all the way up, walked him to his corner, which he shouldn't have did because that only made Carlos tighten up the triangle. When he tried to slam him, Carlos grabbed onto the top of the cage, and the referee said, you can't do that. So Carlos had to let go of the top of the cage. Matt Hughes slammed him. At the time, Matt Hughes was damn near unconscious, and when Carlos hit the ground, he was knocked out. So since Matt Hughes woke himself up and he was groggy, the referee said, hey, Matt Hughes is the only one that's conscious. He wins. Well, Rose couldn't come too quick enough after she was dumped on the head, and Jessica Andrade won the belt. Rose has successfully defended her title once against the former champion who had it. In her second title defense, she lost to Jessica Andrade. She took time off from the sport, right? Came back the next year in 2020 in July, and she faced Jessica Andrade again. This time, she won by split decision, but still, she was steadily improving her stand-up game. She had mad success with Jessica. She never placed herself in a predicament to be in the clinch, and make it a grimy, type of fight where, Andrade would take her down to the ground, because she wasn't scared to go to the ground with Andrade. But it's just the power, the strength. And she just kept her distance. Let her hands do the talking and her kicks do the walking. You feel me? So she was able to go in there and make this shit happen to set herself up for another title shot. See, I don't think you know, but when Jessica Andrade defeated Rose Namajunas, her first defense was against the first Chinese fighter, Weili Zhang. The first female Chinese fighter, Weili Zhang. No one knew who the fuck Weili Zhang was. A lot of people still don't. But Jessica went in there and fought another short, stocky, power pack, full of punches and kicks, power against power, strength against strength. And Weili Zhang knocked her ass out in the first round. Jessica couldn't even defend her title once. Weili Zhang knocked her out in the first round in her first title defense. So, coming the first Chinese world heavyweight champion, world strawweight champion, I said world heavyweight, world strawweight champion, right? Everybody was giving her like, damn, that's good. Oh, who is this chick Weili Zhang that knocked out Jessica Andrade? All alone, Thug Rose is sitting in the shadows, waiting her turn. So she goes in there and defeats Jessica Andrade, who's now without a title, because the last time they met, Jessica Andrade dumped Thug Rose on her head. So this time she meets Andrade again, and she loses split decision to Thug Rose. That sets up Thug Rose to face the first Chinese strawweight world champion in Weili Zhang. What do you think Thug Rose did? She goes in there and knocked the chick out in one round with a left high kick. It was simply beautiful. It came out of nowhere. No one was expecting it. She knocked out Joanna with a left cross, and then she goes in ground and pound, and then she goes up here and knocks out Weili Zhang with a head kick. Weili Zhang was pissed because she felt like the fight was stopped. Like, she was so buzzy and loopy that she didn't even think the fight should have been stopped. She thought she was up there thinking she was robbed, but they was like, no, you was fucked up. On the other side, Rose has now became the 2-time strawweight world champion, man. She cemented her legacy as one of the best MMA fighters, period. And she's going to be fighting again this weekend. She's going to be fighting again this weekend. Hold on for a second. So when she went in there and knocked out Weili Zhang in the first round, that pretty much cemented Thug's Rose freaking legacy and career as a fighter and as a champion. She was the first to ever do it. She's the first female to regain her title after losing it. She basically superseded the foundation that was laid out by Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Real talk. Joanna was on track to being a legend of the sport. Because basically the first division that was ever in the UFC was a 135-pound division. This is on the heels of Dana White saying women would never fight in the UFC. He found a judoka silver medalist in Ronda Rousey, and then he started out the bantamweight division. Now the organization has 4 women's division. The 115 division, which is strawweight, 125 flyweight, 135 bantamweight, and 145 featherweight. Now this weekend, November 6th, she gets a rematch with Weili Zhang. This time, she's not the challenger. She's the champion. Thug Rose is now the champion. She gets to step back in again with a fighter who she has knocked out. She knocked out Joanna in the first round to gain her title for the first time, gain the world championship. Loses it to Jessica Andrade. Defeats Jessica in a rematch. And now she's fighting her third opponent twice. She's fighting Weili Zhang. All this is championship, rematches. All these are championship rematches. Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice. Jessica Andrade twice. And Weili Zhang. This will be her second time facing her this weekend. This is a big freaking deal, man. This is a big freaking deal. Even though Rose Namajunas has defended her title the first time she was champion, she successfully defended. This defense right here is going to be even more sweeter than when she initially won the title against Joanna. Because a lot of people, this is a fight in Weili Zhang who only fought 4 times. Before she only fought 4 times in the UFC, and then they gave her a title shot. It's crazy, man. Let me get to these comments, man. I just wanted to get that out the way. Elder Boxing on deck. He said, I'm a fan of Rose. That's what's up, man. King Mitch come back, what up? What's good? King Mitch on deck, man. Karate Hottie. Yes, sir. Shout out to Michelle Waterson. She is a hottie, for real. Good thing, man, he up here talking about boxing. At WC, the big bro dropping knowledge. What's going on? Cooking with Sir Senior on deck, man. UFC has a hell of a card on Saturday. They'll most likely reach 1 million PPVs. We'll see, man. I'm not sure about the 1 million PPVs. It might be that or more. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. You know, the reason being is that Dana White loved competing with boxing. I'm serious. That's why I always tell people to pay attention to what's going on with MMA in general. Not just the UFC, but with Bellator and other organizations like the PFL. But right now, the premier promotion is once again going head up with boxing. You know, you have the UFC, and then you have Canelo Alvarez and Caleb Plant. Hey, don't say I never told you. I'm estimating Canelo versus Plant does 410 PPV. Beautiful head kick by Rose. Zhang was delirious. Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm gonna record being a fan of Thug Rose. I'm on record as being a fan of Thug Rose, but I thought Zhang would touch her up though. I've been a fan of Thug Rose ever since she was coming up to be in the UFC. Like even when they was fighting in the house. You know what I'm saying? And all the way to the finale when she stepped in there against Carla Esparza, I was a fan of Rose. It was just something, you know, unique about Rose. Like, I don't know. She just had that mystique about her. You know what I'm saying? That I liked her fighting style. Even though, you know, she was taking reckless risk in there, I just liked how she didn't care. She had the confidence to do it. And then over time, she has improved. She has became an absolute lethal striker, y'all. So check this out. They're going to be the co-main event this weekend on UFC 268. Let me take you through some of the picks of, you know, how all this kind of went down with Rose. So I went over initially how she won the title, right? This was her stepping in there with Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna, that is her signature face-off, face-to-face, nose-to-nose, eye-to-eye. That is what she do. That was the first fight. The first time Rose was contending for a title. This is what happened. She caught her with that left cross, went to the ground, and then commenced to finishing the fight. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. You know what I'm saying? You can't take nothing away from how she finished the fight. It was absolutely beautiful the way it all ended. Let's go to when she had to defend her title for the second time. Remember, Rose defended her title in an immediate rematch against the same fighter that you see trying to cover up and be defense, and with her defense against Rose. This is what I'm talking about, how Jessica Andrade picked her up with a crotch lift and dumped her backwards on her head. Rose could have very, very well let go of that, but she was fighting the hands of Jessica Andrade. She was trying to fight the hands, and she went for a ride. Unfortunately, she should have just said, okay, let me release this and brace myself for the damn impact, which she didn't, and she ended up being knocked out. She would get past that. Then she will face Weili Zhang. This is the kick that solidified Thug Rose into the Hall of Fame. This is the kick that solidified Thug Rose as a two-time world champion. This is the kick in the fight that basically said Rose Namajunas is the first female to ever regain her title. She's the first. That kick doesn't look like much, but look at the face. That's the money shot, bro. That is the money shot right there. That is the freaking money shot, y'all. That is the money shot. This is the three heavy hitters that's on the card this weekend. Usman, Covington 2. It's going to be stupid. It's going to be stupid, dog. I know it hasn't been too many fireworks with the promo and everything because Trump is out of office and Colby really used Trump to to promote his fights with the MAGA hat and all that, and all his scripted motherfucking one-liners and shit, trash talking. But now that he's no longer in office, it's been very little promo coming from Colby Covington. He's still talking his shit, but there's been very little promo coming from him. As for Usman is doing what Usman was supposed to do, man. Usman is undefeated in the UFC, y'all. He's never lost in the UFC. So you got to give it up to him. You know what I'm saying? His only loss was outside the UFC. The Nigerian Nightmare, Kamaru Usman, is the current reigning defending welterweight champion. He will face Colby Covington in a rematch. He ended up stopping Covington in the first fight in a very good, solid firefight. It was a war while it lasted. And, you know, Kamaru came out with the best. You know what I'm saying? So we're talking about Kamaru, right? Who picked up the title against Tyron Woodley. From Tyron Woodley, right? He faced Colby Covington. He's defended his title a total of 4 times. He fought Colby Covington and stopped him in the 5th. Then he fought Jorge Masvidal the first time. And that's when Jorge was saying, you know, that's not even with a full fight camp and all this other shit and this, that, and the other. So he fought him to a unanimous decision. So he ended up fighting his former stablemate, Gilbert Burns, you know, very highly decorated when it comes to BJJ competition, right? Gilbert Burns gets in there and gets stopped in round 3. That's after hurting Kamaru Usman. So that's 3 title defenses that Tyron Woodley was able to take care of. 3 title defenses already. And top names, right? So after Gilbert Burns, he fight Jorge Masvidal, who was up there talking like, oh, I went the distance with him. You know, I didn't have a full camp. Imagine what I had with a full camp, this, that, and the other. So let's take this in consideration, how I like, you know, the UFC and mixed martial arts when it comes down to win-losses. Jorge Masvidal has 35 victories in MMA, y'all. 35 victories. His record is crazy when you're talking about mixed martial artists. He has 35 victories, 14 losses. He has 14 losses. But overall, he has over 45 professional MMA fights. That's a lot of motherfucking fights, y'all. So Kamaru Usman goes in there and knocks out Jorge Masvidal in the 2nd round. Clean. One of the most beautiful straight right hands you will ever see in MMA. He knocks him out. Now he's stepping in there once again with the fighter that's high in the rankings. He fought him before, just like he fought Jorge Masvidal. That's going to be a 5-round, 5 minutes apiece championship fight. 5 minutes per round. Headliner championship bout. So, you know, keep your eye on that. And also, if you see it on YouTube, just check it out on YouTube. You know, I put the entire main quick card on there. Quick card is just a rundown of the fighters that's notable that's going to be on this card. D Hodges, OG on deck. How you feeling, man? Say, what's up, WCS in chat? Damn, Willie ain't been shit since. Yeah, Willie has been out here making his rounds or whatever. Hip hop. Doing whatever he doing. I don't know what he doing, bro, but he been doing what he doing. I don't know. And the third big fight that you see at the bottom is Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Okay? Interesting story about both of these guys, they're both from neighboring organizations. You know what I'm saying? Justin Gaethje, he was handling business over there undefeated, y'all, in the World Series of Fighting. Justin Gaethje was undefeated. Undefeated. He comes over here out of the house. When I say the house, that's the Ultimate Fighter house. He comes over here from a neighboring organization, WSOF, and he fights Michael Johnson. He finished him. His debut is sealed and official. Boom. They put him in there with the next guy who's a big name in MMA, the Underground King, Eddie Alvarez. Put him in there with Eddie Alvarez because that's what he wanted. He said, I'm undefeated. I want Eddie Alvarez. So now Justin Gaethje at that time was 18-0. So 18-0 Justin Gaethje goes in there with Eddie Alvarez and gets stopped in round 3. First loss, man. Justin Gaethje say, fuck it. I'm highlight. This is what I live for. Put me in there with another top contender. Dana White said, okay. They give him Dustin Poirier. At the time, Dustin Poirier's record is 22-5. Boom. He loses. Round 4. Stop. Punches. Because that was Justin Gaethje's style. Punches. All or nothing. Balls to the wall. Mano a mano. That was his shit. So that happened in April of 2018, his loss to Dustin Poirier. He didn't even take an extensive amount of time off. He comes back from April of 2018 and fights in August 2018. It was a trash talk for this fight. I actually tried to get an interview with his opponent prior to this fight. And he was trying to act like he was this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. I don't care. It's over and done with. And they was bullshitting around trying to make him bigger. Oh, we raising him up, and we keeping close tabs. He's not having an interview with anybody. Okay, all right, cool. He goes in there with Justin Gaethje, and he's up there talking about, Justin Gaethje is stuttering. He can barely understand what he's talking about. This, that, and the other. And Gaethje was like, shit. You're not gonna be able to say anything when I touch you with these hands. And hey. Justin Gaethje goes in there and stops the man in the first round. He's back on the map from a guy who had already been stopped before, but only once. He only had one loss. He steps in there with one of the fastest switch kickers in MMA, Edson Barbosa, next. I thought for sure the hands and the feet of Barbosa would be tough for Justin Gaethje. Gaethje goes in there and knocks out Barbosa in the first fucking round, dog. He moves on to the man himself. One of the only other fighters right now that has the amount of experience that Jorge Masvidal has, and that's Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He was 36-12 when he stepped in there with a 20-2 Justin Gaethje. Gaethje stops him in the first round. Yeah, if you're familiar with the name, this is the same cowboy who was stopped in the first round in 40-some seconds fighting Conor McGregor. Yes. But believe it or not, Donald Cowboy Cerrone can fight. And a lot of people call him a legend of the sport because he's all about the smoke. He don't care. So he goes in there with Tony Ferguson, y'all. Tony Ferguson was this guy who was supposed to face the champion. The lightweight champion could beat the Namajunas 5 freaking times. Could you imagine the omen? When you're supposed to face somebody that many times and something keeps coming up? I never understood, or do I understand, how these two individuals 5 times in their careers, stemming back all the way to 2015, continue to get their fight canceled. I mean, it was just whatever that was going on in the universe. Their fights were being canceled. So Tony Ferguson steps in there with Justin Gaethje, who is basically working himself back up to a title fight. So at the time Khabib was out, so Dana said, hey, Ferguson, I'm going to give you Justin Gaethje. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to give you Justin Gaethje. If you beat Justin Gaethje, or Justin Gaethje, you beat Tony Ferguson, you get a title shot at Khabib. Now, this is after Khabib is subbed out Conor McGregor now. This is after Khabib has subbed out Dustin Poirier now. The list goes on, but more recently, Khabib Nurmagomedov has subbed out Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. Justin Gaethje goes in there and put on a performance, the best performance of his career ever. Ever, y'all. His punching display, his technique has improved. He was patient. He wasn't just going in there just throwing caution to the wind to fight Tony Ferguson, who is a well-respected MMA fighter. Tony Ferguson is a well-respected mixed martial artist, man. When he stepped in there with Justin Gaethje, he only had 3 losses. This dude had his issues, in MMA too. You know what I'm saying? He had his little issues with this, that, and the other, having some mental shit go on and stuff like that. But the performance that Justin Gaethje put on with Tony Ferguson was just amazing. He couldn't miss. Not the fact that Tony Ferguson was giving him an easy target. It's just Justin Gaethje shine. He changed it. He leveled up that night against Tony Ferguson. He couldn't miss, man. He was so punctual. It was target practice. He had Tony Ferguson fucked up. He had him bloodied. He had him goddamn crimson mask, full crimson mask up in that bitch. And it got to the point where the commentators was like, damn, this fight might need to be stopped. Tony Ferguson's getting fucked up. And sure enough, he cracked him in the 5th round. And it was like, oh my God. And then Tony, he just turned his back to him. He started shaking his head. And he basically, submitted. He surrendered. And the referee called the fight. So Justin Gaethje gets his shot at Khabib. And it was just, coming off the loss of his pops. This is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's coming off the loss of his pops from COVID. His dad meant everything to him, dog. That's why he's taking time off. Khabib comes back. He really has no ill will towards Justin Gaethje. When he took him down, he didn't even punish him. He just basically treated it as if he was getting, he was moving around, so to speak. It was sparring. He was still treating it as a professional fight. But to Khabib, he didn't unleash his vicious side of going in there ground and pounding his opponent. So when he took Justin Gaethje down, and he did it with ease, he had no problem. He just put him in a triangle choke, worked to a triangle choke, and he subbed him out in round 2. He sent him about his way. So that was the last time Justin Gaethje was in the cage. Was October 2020. It's been over a year now. He's gonna come back and face Michael Chandler, people. Michael Chandler, if you don't know who he is from Bellator, man, he has some of the most incredible training videos you'll ever see. This dude has a wrestling background. He's coming out of Bellator. And he had some pretty damn good fights in history with let's say David Rickles, the Pitbull brothers, Patricky and Patricio, Benson Henderson, former world champion of the UFC. He fought Primus twice and redeemed himself, because my understanding, I think he lost the Primus Brent Primus the first time, and then he beat him the second time. Then, of course, he fought Benson Henderson twice. And, he gets the call up, right? Everybody was talking about, hey, man, he has this guy, Michael Chandler, over in Bellator, man. He was champion. He would do good over the UFC. It's his time, right? So he comes over to the UFC. No soft touch. He takes highly ranked Dan Hooker. This is a big deal because they put him in there with a top contender to get him a title fight. He knocks Dan Hooker out in one round, dog. All he was doing was stalking, and he caught Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker was moving to his right, and Michael Chandler was moving to his left, and he caught him with a left cross, man. Dropped him right there. Almost similar to the way Justin Gaethje dropped James Vick. So guess what? Michael Chandler gets a shot at the championship that has now been vacated by Khabib Nurmagomedov. People was wondering, when is someone going to fight for this lightweight championship at 155 pounds? There you go. Now you have Charles Oliveira facing Michael Chandler. At the time, Chandler was 22-5, and Oliveira was 30-8, y'all. Yes, 30-8. Charles Oliveira, who hasn't had it easy, but a nasty BJJ practitioner. He stops Chandler in round 2, people, to pick up his first ever championship in the UFC. Now, granted, if he would have fought Khabib, we don't know what could have happened, what would have happened. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what could have happened, what would have happened. But Khabib was now retired. And Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler get a shot at the title, and Oliveira knocks him out in round 2. So guess what? Justin Gaethje, who had his shot at Khabib, he now gets to fight Michael Chandler, who had this opportunity to fight for the title. It wasn't Khabib Nurmagomedov, but he had his chance to fight for a title shot. Both of these guys had their chance. And this is where we at right now. They get to fight one another. I really don't know who to go for in this fight. Real talk. I don't know. I don't know who to go for in this fight. Seriously. I seriously don't know who to go for. Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler. You know, like, I really don't know. If Justin Gaethje comes in there with the performance he did against Tony Ferguson and it's a stand-up game, cool. But Michael Chandler is a wrestling-based fighter. I mean, he's legit. So a lot of people, including myself, was thinking that they were saying Gaethje could wrestle, but he was taken down with ease against, a Sambo world champion and a UFC world champion in the Nurmagomedov. So when it comes down to it, Chandler, he is a wrestling-based fighter who has hands too. Is his hands better than Justin Gaethje? Not in my opinion. Can he knock out Gaethje? Gaethje has a lot of tread on his chin. Michael Chandler's been knocked out. Gaethje's been knocked out. That's why I call it a 50-50 fight, people. I call this a 50-50 fight. This is the only 50-50 fight on the main card out of what you see off the flyer. I think Rose Namajunas would be more than capable of winning and defending her title. And also, I believe Kamaru Usman will basically, like he said, defeat Colby Covington in a much cleaner fashion this time. UFC rewarded Masvidal rematch because he stepped in late and saved the card. Absolutely. And, him stepping in, but it was more so him talking about that he only took the fight late notice and he went the distance. He was running, talking that shit, trying to boost people up, saying he didn't have a full fight camp and he went the distance with the champ. So guess what? He had a fight camp and Kamaru knocked his ass out. It's stupid. Why did Justin take a year off? Your guess is bigger than mine, because I am the belt is on deck. I will say this, all right? The reason why he took a year off, it might have been to work on some things, because he didn't take that much damage at all against Namajunas, at all. And this, I am the belt, was on the back end of the pandemic in 2020. So for him to take a year off and come back, he might have been thinking, I want to find a way to fight an elimination fight and hopefully get my opportunity to fight for the title again. Now that Khabib is out of the UFC, Justin Gaethje may believe he'll have a better chance knocking out Vera. But he has to get through Michael Chandler first. I don't know if he might have had an injury, but that last fight, he didn't take hardly any damage. Real talk. Real talk. He didn't take hardly any damage in that fight, bro. And that's going to be UFC 268, y'all. UFC 268. Those are three of the main heavy hitters that's up there. Usman versus Covington 2. Namajunas, Zhang 2. Gaethje and Chandler meeting for the first time. Michael Chandler from Bellator, Justin Gaethje formerly from the World Series of Fighting. Good shit. And plus they got a heavy card, man. They have a total of 14 fights on this card, if I'm not mistaken. My boy Bobby Green is in there fighting. Iaquinta. Who else is up here? Alex Pereira. He's back in there with Andreas. I'm not sure why Frankie Edgar is back in here. I really want him to retire. Seeing him get knocked out by Corey Sandhagen. You know what I'm saying? Who just went through a war. With Petrie Young. Oh man, I don't know how good this guy's gonna be once he retire. You got Shane Burgos, man, going in there against Quarantillo. Billy Quarantillo. What's some other names up here that's notable? I put the quick card in my YouTube, so y'all can look at it from there. But yeah, man, I just want to jump on here and kind of touch bases with that. You know what I'm saying? And talk about one of my favorite fighters in Thug Rose, Namajunas. There's only one Thug Rose for real. And I wish her nothing but the best going in there, defending her title. I hope she get it done. Real talk. And for those of you that dropped in, man, make sure you hit the like if you like it. Continue to support the channel. Turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.
Left jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best, you gotta show me son. Actions over words, baby boy, is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports.